Classroom leadership, not management, because here we believe that teachers are leaders. Classroom leadership is going to allow for the learning and growing to take place. Classroom leadership is going to allow the good things to take place, and it's going to also ensure that you can respond to distractions in an appropriate and efficient manner. You know what it also does? It also prevents problems from arising. Let's look at this article. I like this. This is geared towards new teachers. 5 C's of classroom leadership. That's what we call it. By setting clear expectations and promoting a sense of connection, teachers can set all students up for success at the beginning of the year. So let's jump into this. We got 5 tips here. Number 1, this is key. Create routines and procedures. Students need to understand what's going on, and what's going to happen in the class. Routines and procedures help set classroom expectations for everything from sharpening a pencil to using the restroom. Often simple disruptions like a student asking to get water can spiral out of control, making it challenging to get into the flow of the lesson. That's very true, because you have one student ask, then another, then another, then another, and before you know it, your lesson, the flow of your lesson it's all messed up. One strategy teachers can use is seat signals. These nonverbal cues are easy to teach and are a quick way for students to indicate that they have needs without disrupting the learning. How are you going to do that? For those of you who do this already, please leave a comment in the comment section. Help us. Let's all learn together. Here's an example that the author gives. If a student wants to answer a question, they can raise one pinky. If they need to use the restroom, they hold up cross fingers. The teachers can acknowledge the student with a quick yes or no, head nod or shake. I have these posted at the front of the classroom for every student to reference. Procedures such as how to enter and leave the classroom, turn in assignments, or get classroom supplies are critical to model and reinforce. Now, you know what? That reminds me of this, and I referenced it the other day, and that's why it's on my desk. This book right here, The First Days of School, the Teacher's Bible. I don't even know if they give this out anymore, but in this, I think the author has a system for handing out papers. But that's what the author of this article is referencing. Have a procedure, and that's the thing about teaching, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing new. So don't let some guru come to your school and tell you that, hey, I found the answer. This is why your kids aren't learning. No, there's nothing new. So have procedures. We practice quietly lining up to go in and out of the classroom. I'll walk through where supplies are located and explain how and when students can access them. Very, very important. And yes, it takes a little bit of time on the front end modeling these things and going through them, but the time is time well spent, so they understand and it becomes more of a habit for them, and there's less distractions of your lesson. All right, number 2, convey high expectations. This is obviously important because students need to understand. And when students first enter a classroom, or when students are asked about a class, they're not answering that question as it relates to the content. They're talking about the teacher. So students, when they're new to you, they're feeling you out and trying to understand you and trying to learn you. So it's better to right up front give them these things. Let them know these are the procedures. This is how we do these things. And oh, by the way, I have high expectations of you, all of you. We have high expectations. One way to convey high expectations is through the language you use. I called my 3rd grade students scholars as a way to show I believe in their abilities. Now, let me stop right there, because that's how this author decides to utilize language to send that message. You don't all have to call your students scholars. If that doesn't feel comfortable to you, then don't do it. So let me throw that in. And that's not, I don't call students scholars. I don't do that. But they know through through other language that I use with them, they know that I have high expectations. At the start of the school year, I showed what scholars looked and acted like. This included having materials ready, putting their names on their paper, and listening to adults and peers. Across contents, I would refer to students as scholars. Scholar Annabelle, thank you for putting your book away. Scholar Ben, it looks like you need to try coming in the door again. Another way to hold students to high standards is being clear about what work looks like at their grade level. For example, second grade students need to start their sentences with a capital letter and end with a period. If student work does not meet expectations, you can remind students what you are looking for. Do you see any sentences that need a capital letter? These high expectations also relate to students with unique needs. Working with another adult or responsible peer, students would complete class assignments while showing their understanding in a way that worked best for their learning style. I like that. That's good. So convey high expectations using your language. That's good. I like that. Number 3, she has here, call out accomplishments. Again, there's nothing new here, but I like the way that she frames it. They all begin with a C. This is wonderful. Yes, you need to be praising your students. There were times I thought I was pretty good at praising my students, but there are times when my students had to remind me. So they say, "Hey, Dr. Bird, like you're riding me pretty hard, man. I'm feeling like I'm not getting enough words of affirmation from you." Hey, I appreciate that. Heard. I'm gonna work on that. So positive reinforcement can come in many forms and recognizes students who are doing what they need to be doing. Class Dojo is a great tool that can be used to provide points for specific tasks populated by the teacher. Now, this is an elementary teacher. For those of you in middle and high school, what are some ways that you remind yourself, or some ways that you keep track of, or you put it in front of students, your praise for the things that they're doing? How do you praise students? Let's just keep that short. Leave a comment in the comment section. We want to hear from you. We want to learn from you. This can include answering a question or being kind to a peer. Accessible on a computer, tablet, or phone, this EdTech tool can be a game changer in reinforcing positive behavior. Another way I praise positive behavior is through table points. Excuse me. When giving points to a group, I make sure I am clear as to why points are being given. Table 2, thank you for having all your materials put away. Looks like table 3 is the first table with quiet voices. Awarding table points is an opportunity for peers to be positive role models as each table works together toward a common goal. Students can work together in their groups to create a name and illustration for their pods as an added community boost. I provide students with a theme, for instance, ocean animals. Then they need to decide as a table what name they would like to adopt. This invests students in shared decision making and group accountability, all facets of a strong community. I love the way that she's put this together. She's obviously thought this out very well. For those of you who are new teachers, you're going into a new school year, you can take this model, what she has here, and you can add your own flavor into this framework that she has with these 5 C's of classroom leadership. I love it. All right, number 4, cultivate kindness. Simple, small acts can do a lot to create a caring learning environment. Greeting students at the door each morning by name with a high five or fist bump helps initiate connection and sets the tone for the day. This can also be a time to remind students of your expectations. I like that. That's good. We're gonna work hard today. Let's go get it. This can also be a time to remind the students of your expectations for their behavior by saying, "Welcome, Scholar Tanya. I can see you are here ready to learn." Teachers can model what it looks like to disagree with a peer in an academic context. Scholar Robert, can you explain what you mean when you say eating pizza is healthier than eating fruits and vegetables? Yeah, explain that, Scholar Robert. 'Cause I would love for you to be right. I'd love for it to be right, but I don't think you are. Walking students to and from locations can provide a slip of extra time to connect with them. I take this opportunity to do an informal check-in about how students are doing or ask them about something they told me yesterday. I often let students know this is their time to chat with me so that we can come into the classroom ready to learn. And that's just so important, just to check in with them, what's going on in their lives. Sometimes they'll share, sometimes they'll overshare. And your willingness to follow up with those things that are going on in their life. Hey, you had a baseball game, you had a dance recital, how'd that go? Oh man, I'd love to see a picture of you in your Halloween costume. That'd be awesome. So just those things, just making that connection, that's very, very important. And again, like I said, that you're able to prevent a lot of problems from popping up. And if problems do pop up, you can make a simple withdrawal because the students understand who you are and the efforts that you've made to connect with them, and because of that you've got their respect, and they'll change. Usually, ideally, they'll change their behavior, they'll change their thinking, they'll change their decision making because of you are who you are, and you've done what you've done in terms of connecting with them. All right, last C. Connect with students. I found that student connections are the quickest way to build a classroom community and have the biggest impact. I create a get to know you bingo that students can play at the beginning of the year. This can help students find their similarities or learn something new about a peer. If I know students are interested in a certain topic, I work to weave it into the curriculum when appropriate. That is important, ladies and gentlemen. I went to a school a few years ago, and they were changing everything up because the students that went to the school, they were really close to dropping out, and so they allowed they had pets come to the class. They had an English class that was based on I think it was like Harry Potter or Dungeons and Dragons, something along those lines. But that was the curriculum, and it interested those students. And I say that to say, like, this, the author here is spot on. Like, things that they're interested in, if you could weave it into the curriculum, that is the cherry on top. Like, you have their attention. Now, definitely, you can just, as time goes on, you get some downtime or whatnot, or before class. Yeah, that's a chance to connect with them as well and talk about things that they're interested. But man, if you weave it into the curriculum, you're on another level, because that took thought in order to do that, and students recognize that. When I had students who were interested in music, we did a compare and contrast exercise between two versions of a song. This is a motivating way to teach a high-level concept. I've created a teacher slideshow using Prezi that has a picture of me as a student. This always elicits some giggles and surprises as students ask, "Is that you?" I include information about my family, hobbies to share more about my life outside the classroom. Connection can be threaded into any moment of the day. I just said that. Making it a low effort, high value strategy. Tap into what you hear your students talking about. I noticed that a student of mine loved writing. I regularly asked her about her projects and shared information about kid-friendly writing contests. Again, going that extra mile, investing in your student. Another student loved race cars. By asking a simple question, "Who is your favorite race car driver?" Yes, I was able to tap into one of his passions and begin to foster a connection with him. This is important. This is the foundation. This helps you get to students. All students are mastering the objective. It's hard to get there without the connection part. It's hard. So Okay, so the start of the school year is an ideal time to establish community as you create relationships with students, help them understand routines and procedures, and acknowledge their accomplishments. Yet, community is something that can be built throughout the year. Continue to convey high expectations and cultivate kindness. This will help to maintain a classroom where students feel seen and valued. Students will begin to take responsibility for their learning and become avid participants in the learning process. Building community takes time and effort, but its rewards last all year long. Well said, wonderfully written article, and I will, again, kudos, credit to Laurel Maxwell. Excellent, excellent article here. Wonderful tips. I will link this article in the description section for you to look at your leisure. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until we meet again, please don't forget that teachers are leaders.